Hi, welcome to the Jenn Hayward Show. My name is Jenn Hayward. I'm your host and your eye candy for this evening, although my guest is young and good looking too. We have Janelle Niles on. She's a local comic producer, Indigenous woman, probably Indigenous before she was a comic, but I bet she's always been funny. So I usually talk for a little bit off the top to try and garner an audience because right now Facebook is going, hey, everybody, Jenn and Janelle are talking. A lot of people like to pre-tape their stuff. I don't. I like to do it the way I like to do it, which is like no makeup, live, raw, sometimes high. Not tonight though. So we're gonna have fun. It's Mother's Day weekend. So for most of you, that means whatever. Oh, before I start, if you are on the Jenn Hayward Show page, super. But if you're on my personal page, Jenn Hayward, go over to the Jenn Hayward Show. Because you can't make comments. You can make comments, but they don't show up here. So if you're on the Jenn Hayward Show, which I can actually see that some of you are, if you're on the Jenn Hayward Show, feel free to make a comment. If you are on my personal one, go to the Jenn Hayward Show, YouTube or Facebook. Anyway, Mother's Day. Mother's Day. Hi, Marie. See, I'm just showing everyone what it's like. I'm showing Marie, Claire Tovet. She is, we'll have you on one day. She is a sex therapist, a sex coach. She did a seminar on like 72 ways to, I have green screen on, still. So my Starbucks straw, I'm gonna go change that. Anyway, so I have my guest here. Like I said, we are going to be out here. Now you can see my green. We're going to be out here soon. Mother's Day is fun. It's a great commercial holiday. This year, though, people are going insane. Every one of our merchants, obviously, this is sponsored by Go For It. I even have a banner that says, yeah, no, that's not the one. That's right. We're technical, sponsored by Go For It Deliveries. And so we have just everyone. Like they're running out of flowers. Like bakers are running out of flour. It's ridiculous. And if you haven't, gotten your mom a present yet, Josh and my kids, you clearly just don't. There's people just still asking, what should I get my mom? Well, it's like 4 days before Mother's Day in a pandemic. Why are you waiting till last minute? But there are lots of options still with people who aren't us. We're almost at capacity. It's insane. But Mother's Day is also a huge trigger for a lot of people. Some people have like dead moms or whatever, or like estranged moms, or can't have kids, or has too many kids, or, just is tired because it's COVID, miss their mom because of COVID, all these things. So just be extra sensitive. And by all means, if you feel like you want to contribute to the economic growth right now during shutdown, but don't really have anyone to send flowers or candies to, just send it to me. I will be the Mother Earth, and like only in the accepting gifts, not in the nurturing way. So if you have things that you just like, I want to buy something for my mom, send it to me, and I will eat it, all of it. Okay, so that's all I have to say about me. I'm gonna hide that. We do have a special guest here. She is local comic, local producer. She originates from the East Coast. I've gotten to know her. She's like a fetus. She's so young and she's already accomplishing. And I'm very proud to say that she's also a budding entrepreneur, and I've taken a lot of interest in her that way. So for the next 45 minutes or so, please welcome Janelle Niles. Hello.
Hello, darling.
Hello. Oh, we got... oh my God, Josh said, turn the green screen back on. Excellent. Okay, so we do have a couple people still on my personal page, Tough Shit. If you can't make comments, but anyone else, if you want to interact with Janelle and I, you need to go to one of the professional pages. And if you could all do us a favor and share it right now and say, oh my God, this is so fun, even though I haven't made it fun yet. I will. And your twin sister, like the word fetus, is the same age as you. So I guess if someone's giving you a compliment, Janelle, is it like they're giving it to her too?
Yes, 100%.
100%. So if someone said to you, hey, your twin sister is unattractive, how would you feel about that?
I would be like, I guess I have to murder her so I can be attractive 100% of the time.
Okay, like it's ridiculous. You guys are
I
great.
love you, Julian. I love you. I love
And
you.
your friends, and she supports all your shows. It's sickening. It's sickening. So Janelle, let's get right into it. That's her face. She says, I didn't know who would be coming to watch tonight, but I knew Jilene would be here. So is it Jilene or Jaylene or
Jillian.
Jilene? All right.
Yes.
I should have known that. I know you've introduced me to her, but I barely remember your name, Janelle. You are a comedian, and we're just going to start right away with the producing. You have a brand. You're actually more branded than most comics and movements in Ottawa. And what is your brand? It's called
My brand is Gotland Comedy.
Gotland Comedy, and it is a question because you want to know if they have land. So obviously this is a play on, Indigenous rights and all those sorts of things, and we'll go into that. It's interesting. Land-based, because land-based is more First Nation than it is Métis for sure. And although Nunavut, they got their land, but there's a whole slew of other issues. But it's funny. Don Kelly made a joke online the other day, and today some kids made the same kind of joke. Not at all. But the whole point is that, like, are we kind of past land acknowledgement at this time? And so Sarah, one of my best friends, and I do change makers with her kids. And so Sarah has been teaching them slowly, and we've been giving her a little bit of agenda every time. And she goes into the world and she finds the resources to teach the proper things to her children. We love that about her. And so she was, talking again about Indigenous rights. And so the girls were like, that is awful. What are we doing about it? And Sarah's like, oh, well, nothing. And the kids, wait a minute. Is that like, so you guys are acknowledging that you're shitty, but no one's doing anything to fix it? Like, it's not. And so like Don had a joke, so I'm not going to try and quote it because he'd be mad. I don't want to quote his stuff, and it's on his page, but it's funny because I think we're now past this, aren't we? Because like first it was like acknowledge that this is an issue, but I think it's time to fix it. Let's get right into it.
100%. I try to do that with comedy and just spreading awareness. Like I started Gotland Comedy at Yuck Yucks. You hosted, and then I was up, and I made sure to be like, before I got on stage, Yuck Yucks staff came to me personally and wanted me to know that this club was located on Algonquin Anishinaabeg territory. And I told them, we know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's a big thing with the government is that we acknowledge we're on this land, unceded Algonquin territory. Excellent.
Unceded Anishinaabeg. Yeah.
Are you going to cede it? I mean, it's way more complicated than that, but it is interesting that 4 girls under the age of 13 were like, hey, that's not right. Why don't we work to fix this? And well, actually, nothing's happening. So.
Exactly. Oh, and my cousin, he made sure to send me some tap water from my reserve. It's just my iron intake is through the roof.
Well, and I think you've heard me say this through the pen. I look like I'm dead, by the way. I didn't wear makeup. I'm wearing Mother's Day makeup.
I'm not wearing makeup.
It's like I look whiter than white today. Hey, hang on. I have a light on me, and I bet I can. I'm always vain like that.
There you go. God.
Hey, it's better. All right. Now I have the warmth.
Always orange light or brown light. Always. Don't wash yourself.
You know how like I'm like whatever, sleepy eye, droopy eye, pores the size of your head, whatever. Anyway, oh yeah, the drinking water is like when COVID hit and all this anger happened, and right now it's all about our rights. It's about like our human rights for some people, the freedom fighters, and I don't like to generalize one group of people or another, but there are people who believe you shouldn't have to wear a mask, no shutdowns, that this is a hoax, all these things, whatever. Have your own belief system, but I think fundamentally this is the first time I've seen middle class white people really oppressed, although it's a higher up here, but like literally we still have people in our country who don't have clean drinking water. So Indigenous people were not as outraged by all these rules because we're like, all right, it makes sense, the government's intervening, like it's kind of almost we're used to it or whatever. But these we talked about this when we had a writing session the other day, is the suburban white women, they lost their shit. They lost their shit when they found out that their kids couldn't buy crayons at Dollarama, right? They just lost every sense of decency that they had, and they lobbied, and they got it reversed within 2 days. That's amazing. So why don't we use that for helping others and not just your children color shitty stuff?
Because we get arrested.
Yeah. Can you turn your volume down or something? Oh. Yeah. I'm back feeding back, whatever. But yeah, like that's it, is that people were just like outraged over, like, this is the last straw for us. And yeah, I don't know where we're going with that. I just thought it was a really interesting take on this. And you've been very calm, and you've adjusted, and you have some big shows coming up. Are you allowed to speak of those?
Oh, yes. Am I still backfeeding? Is that better?
No, it's gone now. It's gone.
Okay, perfect. I was going to add on to the fact that we can't rise up against the crayon catastrophe, because when we speak about stuff, we get arrested. You know, they stifle us.
Yeah.
And that's why it's great to do things with comedy, because comedy is one of the last forms of free speech, in the sense of you might not like what we're going to say, but we have to say it. And we're saying it in such a way that you can get on board. We're not attacking you. White guilt was so 2019. We're just trying to make you aware that we're still here. These issues are still happening, and we want to get you on board. They actually just announced today that they have they pushed it to 5 years now, that they'll get clean fresh water to Indigenous populations in Canada.
Like 5 years to get
5
clean
more
water.
years.
You know, I mean, I guess we've been waiting for, them to fix the child crisis and the overpopulation and the prison crisis for 50 years, but 100 years, it doesn't end. And
Can I tell you one? I'll tell you one thing.
Whatever you want. It's just you, me, and anyone watching.
Hello, everybody. So let's say Alaska, a big Indigenous population. Alaska, let's say Alaska, just the water got contaminated. They would have clean, purifying water trucks up there in 20 minutes. They would fly them in those Hercules choppers. They would get those water trucks to that community, to Alaska, in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Like, where's those trucks for us? You know what I mean? Like, let's dip into the trust, Indian Affairs. Let's get that $1,000,000,000,000,000 we have. Let's get some clean water trucks that we know you have.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure every Indigenous person in Canada would give their $5 a year back to help it really is. And I think it goes beyond apathy, because the information is out there, and it's not just there is contempt. There is contempt. Now, I'm from Saskatchewan. Grew up in Saskatoon, Métis, and Ukrainian. And so I have seen racism in my family. I've seen it everywhere. I've seen Métis versus first. I've seen it all. But there is an intense amount of racism when you have two groups of people closely populated together with two different sets of laws. Not right or wrong. It's the Indigenous, is under the Indian Act, is federal responsibility, right? So when the province says in Saskatchewan, this is a huge deal, we're going smoke free, the other folks were like, screw you, we're going to smoke in the casinos, and we're, blow it in your face. And it was a form of protest. It wasn't, let's say, but the people who were next to it, who had the business down the line, right? Because when it's a share, were like, people aren't going to come see us. And it became a huge race war. And then I said, because they don't understand the issues, right? They don't understand. But when when your only experience is seeing the effects of intergenerational Indigenous trauma, right? When you're only seeing alcoholism or, you know, the things that are going on, or your perception of what good parenting is and all those things. That's where those, oh, the Indians or the this and the that. And so I like what you do in your comedy is that you come right out and break those stereotypes right away. You address them, you confront them, and you're working, you know, and so you did this from the beginning, and then you kept throwing in the odd dirty joke or something like that, you know, as you know, and now you're like, I think, can I tell them what we talked about on Monday? Is that we were like, can we find a different word than finger blasting? Like, not make out, but just to go corporate. Could you find something between make out and finger blasting, just so you could be a little more marketable? Because I don't want you to lose the message, because it was so important. And I mean, like, I'm not a comedy expert. I just know that because you have a voice, you know, I go out and I'm like, here's my vagina. I'm Polly. I do this. I just like, you know, I like attention, whatever. But you have a message, right? And you're trying to break down stereotypes. So I think it's hard, but you've really started refining your craft, and you can tell more and more because you're doing more and more Indigenous jokes, right? For that thing. Simone's like, I got to put this up here because I think this is Finger Blasting from Simone Holder. It's the new book that we're writing. We're bringing Ashley on board. We're talking about perimenopause. But anyway,
so when I tell people I'm a comedian, I tell people I'm three comedians. Okay. I'm an Indigenous comedian.
Yeah.
I'm a Black comedian, and I'm an edgelord comedian.
No, I didn't even address that you're mixed. We're both mixed race. We're at the other end of the color prism spectrum.
I'm half Black and half Indigenous. So my mom's Shaquille O'Neal and my dad's Pocahontas. But
you've got every stereotype under the sun. It's great. How could you not be a comedian?
Yeah, I'm actually the most marginalized person in Canada right now, but I'm not.
You know. You're not in a wheelchair, lady.
I know. And I'm not a lesbian.
Just keep eating sugar, and you'll get there.
I am two-spirited, though. I am two-spirited. So
I didn't know that about you. Good for you. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I just have.
I thought you were hot on me, but I wasn't sure. So.
Well, I kind of identified as bi for a long time, but but as a bi woman, I identified as a woman, but I was also very masculine, if you will. I was always a tomboy. I have very male traits about me from the way I speak, the way I act, the way I like.
I can see that. Sure.
And when you see me in my suit that I just bought, you're gonna see it. You're gonna be like, oh my God, that's a very handsome woman. But like what we said before, you were talking about which shows are coming up. We're 17 minutes in, and hopefully we got the audience where this actually booms out. Well, Gotland Comedy has two big shows coming up. Our first big show is May 26th, and we are with the federal government. Oh no!
Your first ever awareness. Now I've done comedy for the federal government before. I have never been asked to do a rehearsal. This is interesting.
I think it's because of me.
Yeah, they're on it. They're like, is she going to say finger blasting or not? This is not pre-taped, it's live, and it's not like we can't, you know, it's Zoom, so it's like you can say whatever you want, and so that's a not accessible one, but I'm really proud of you for that one. And then the next one is everyone can come watch, which is cool.
Yeah. So the summer solstice 2021. So everybody knows what the powwow was for. It was brought from every single like reach of Canada. Like people would come together for the powwow from, you know, Anishinaabe to Mohawk, from Ojibwe to Cree to Mi'kmaq. Everybody would come together. And that's what we're doing for the summer solstice. I got people from all over Canada, comedians alike, to do a video compilation that will be aired live with the summer solstice. You can find Summer Solstice 2021 online. It's literally www.summersolstice.
While you're there, buy some stuff. I know the people are selling for them, but no, I think this is great because it's the powwow is never a good place for comedy, right? Like
all the kids running around.
Oh my God! I mean, it's very notorious. Like in your lifetime, unexpected children will just show up at some of your comedy shows, even if it's like it's an R-rated show. Oh wait, something happened. All the kids are here, but still.
What's finger blasting, mommy? What's finger blasting?
What is finger blasting? And
sorry, I can't get over that.
That's what you're going to be known for by the end. No, so this is a really exciting because it's and you did something that I thought was interesting because I know I was helping advise you just a little bit because, I know the producer and stuff like that. And I said, here's a list of amazing Indigenous comedians and stuff. And you took definitely the ones that I would have. And then you found through them some other people that I had never heard of. And I like that because that's the thing is that there's movements of Indigenous comedy. There's movements going on of people we've never heard of who are going to be hilarious. Right. And so I was really kudos, and that it has a lot of feminine people on there or masculine people, but
it's about 4 and 4 females, 4 males. It's amazing.
It's amazing to get
I do it
on a show, period, let alone an Indigenous. Great.
Yeah, I actually do that unconsciously. I'm not tooting my own horn here, but I kind of am. I do it with my I do it with my bi-weekly comedy at Eddie's. Like, it is so inclusive. It's so, and I do it just out of like boom, 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 boom. I don't have the same 8 white guys on every single, because that's not how I do things. I see people who haven't done comedy before. Come on, I got you 6 minutes. Go on stage, say what you want, work on your material, and that's what I think comedy's supposed to be. Like, it's supposed to be a collaborative group that helps each other out, like the big guys to the little guys. Like, that's what you do for me, and that's what I like.
Awesome.
I'm so. Guys, everybody watching, I'm so thankful that Jenn Hayward took me under her wing. Literally, she has like flown me
I take no
to different directions. Oh God, Josh loves that a little too much.
No. This is foreplay for him.
For sure. But what I was going to say about the summer solstice, we have Mista's Greg Driver. He's going to be doing our opening prayer and a couple jokes. And we have Dakota Ray Hebert, and myself and you. And Don Kelly is actually going to be throwing some stand-up. Yeah, Don Kelly's on board. And what I really want for Gotland, if I have a mission statement, is to incorporate Indigenous comedy into the mainstream. Where have we been, right?
You do. Like, that's your mission statement. Put it on your website. And that's where we're going with this, is that comedy is that there is no other true Indigenous producer. Like, there's other people doing little shows, but you have a brand. Dakota as well. She's got her, but to get it going here, like in the prairies, it's pretty easy to find more Indigenous comics, right? But you've given a voice to many comics who've never even tried it, right? And you and I have talked back and forth on, you have to balance giving new voices to having a good show, right? Because, well, we've all been to, and you've worked to balance your shows, and I know firsthand where when someone tries to like get on your show without having been approved, or by this I mean, okay, you know what, Janelle, my schedule has cleared up, I'd love to sneak on your show tonight because I'm working on a bit. You're like, nah, I'm full. And I'm like, most producers don't do that. I didn't do that. I'd let everybody on. I was just so starstruck by the Trevor Thompsons of the world. I mean, this was 15 years ago, whatever. But I would just let everybody on, and I'd be like, wow. And I'd have great comics on. But there's such long shows that people.
You have to always think of the audience, because that's why you're there, right? Like, as a comedian, you're there for the audience. You're there to make people laugh. If you don't have that intention, you're not really a comedian. You're just trying to either hurt or attack people, or be on a soapbox and preach to people who aren't listening. You don't want to do that. It's all about the audience. And if you have a 3-hour show. Okay, I did a show in Dublin, Ireland, for free. I just went up. I didn't take any spot from anybody. It was something that was like, and there was 22 comedians on the roster. And guess where I was on that 22 comedians?
22nd.
Oh, yeah. And I got the audience. It was 21 comedians and my friends. And they all sat in the front row.
No. You have the only friends. You go last. You're the feature now. I've been the feature, but I had Josh showing up to a show. I guess Jen's the feature now. So for non-Canadians, feature's the last person. So, okay, going back. So you have recently, because to get to get paid by the federal government, you as a business, you need to incorporate or to do it, get your HST number. You're not incorporated, your sole prop. But yeah, I'm talking nerd now. But so you have it now, and that's great. So you can actually register as a vendor. In fact, I had someone come to me for a comedy show, and if I quoted them and I did the whole thing, and I have every intention of outsourcing it to you. I don't have time to run shows. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think you take such a passion. Like what I did when I was younger, I did these big shows. I'd lose money at them, but I loved doing them. And
I love it.
yeah,
well,
so you want a brand, and so you want to take this across Canada, right? So it's almost like having
across North America, actually, into the States.
Nice.
Yeah, because I'm going to get my dual citizen.
States is in North America. So
yeah, I'm going to get my dual citizen. Yeah, I'm going to get my dual citizen through the J Treaty, and then I'm going to be able to bring Gotland to the Americas. But I need to let you know something, Jen. Your baby, your little bird is grown up. Today I was on the phone with TD Canada Trust for a whole hour.
Yes.
And I got my checking account, I got my savings account, and I got a credit card, all under Gotland Comedy.
That is great. Oh. Congratulations. That's a huge milestone. So many businesses. I want to tell you, my first year in business, my bookkeeper after said, I hate you, because it was all together in one account. And I was like, here you go. Here's all the receipts. Here's that. No, that's a great way.
I learned from your show. I actually have some notes here. Make sure you get 15% of all your earnings put into a separate account, so I can have my taxes already waiting for me.
Well, I think that was probably with the Paul when we're talking about CRA. It's a huge thing, you know, because cash flow is an issue. Well, you know, you had a show once where the payer was a little bit late, and so it ends up being on you. So now you know the deposit first, all the contractor things. Really, you're going to give Howard a run for his money someday.
Actually, Howard, Yuck Yucks Comedy wants to help me. Well, we will. I don't know how to say this. Yuck Yucks wants the partnership with Gotland to do certain places in like Kitigan Zibi or Aguazazni on tour. Yeah. And I'm like,
no, that's great. Yuck Yucks is an ally. I mean, I don't know Mark Breslin, the owner, but I know Howard has. He's been very supportive of every Indigenous comic I know, women, giving them voices, not censoring them. All the things, you know, he's got his own, you know, he's everyone's
honey, I'm going to be buying that franchise, like in Nova Scotia. I'm going to be running Yuck Yucks Halifax in 20 years. You'll see.
I don't know if
I'm done touring.
You don't need to. You're going to have Gotland. No, shoot higher, lady. I love it. You posted that your goal was 30,000 annual revenue, and I was like,
plus.
Yeah, I was like, we can shoot a little higher, but for this year, yeah. But if you think about the 2 shows you're doing now, of course, and you've learned, you know, the expenses involved, and now, of course, that you're a business, you're going to start keeping every single receipt, every cup of coffee you have, anytime you're talking to me or another comic, every time you go to an amateur show and you buy a meal, something like that, it's actually all a write-off to your business. So. It's actually really smart what you did, but we won't talk too much like that. CRA.
Because you taught me how to like this is what we need. We need people to help people along on this, because I didn't go to business school. You know, I just went to massage therapy. Like we did have some business stuff and, you know, incorporated, talk about HST and whatever.
No, they do. I wish they taught it to kids, because I didn't know either when we started the business. And that's how we got in super trouble, was I was like, nah, I don't need to do that. I'll do that later. And I was like, I don't want to do QuickBooks. Oh, this is a huge thing. They actually care about remittance. Like, remember,
legitimacy is number one for me. I've always been a very honest person. I actually have a story about that. When I was a young little girl, my parental figure would always, had a big stutter because I was fearful of them, and it wasn't respect, it was fear. And I would stutter when I would speak to them, and they said, "You must be lying because you're stuttering." And I don't like it. I don't like to lie, and it just made me even more like nervous to talk, because I'm being accused something I'm not doing, and so honesty and being an open book has been my forefront. And because my eyebrows give
the
me
elders'
away,
teachings,
my
first of
eyebrow,
all.
yeah,
Yeah.
my eyebrows give me away. You know when I don't like something because I can't control these. These have a mind of their own. Like if I don't like what something you're saying, I'll be like, and they'll be like, oh, sorry. Like I don't have a poker face. That's why I can't play
Well,
Texas Hold'em with the aunties.
I'm really good at, but you got in. I mean, that's the thing too, is that you weren't warmly welcomed when you came, because the scene doesn't warmly welcome people. I think they're better because, and at every generation of comics, and generation is every 2 or 3 years before they move off to stardom or whatever, is that, you know, you had your haters. We all have our haters, but yours seemed, you know, you are definitely a chronic poster. That's why you remind me of me. And you talk a lot, but I don't think that hate seemed as warranted and things like that. And
It's again, it's because I was so transparent and honest about what I
yeah.
wanted to do, how I wanted to do it. I was a new
Mm-hmm.
comedian. I was an amateur. I know nothing. Help, teach. And then thankfully, two people who hate each other helped me out together. And it was amazing. Thank you, Matt and Chris. They would like fight to the death. But you know what? Both of them gave me a lot of good pointers. And they didn't treat me like I was a piece of ass. I'm a comedian first and a piece of ass second. So thank you guys so much.
Well, hey,
that.
that's improved. I was never a piece of ass in the comedy scene. I was an old big lady, and yeah, but but you said, "No, I'm going to do it my way," and I really appreciate that, because honestly, the elders' teachings come out a lot in that, and I think that's important also for people to see, is that, I mean, so you break down things with your jokes, but there is a level of teachings in our culture with respect, with honesty, that has been lost.
Humility, yeah.
Yeah, I
Respect.
mean, let's also say we were also taught those systems and processes by non-Indigenous people. They were not Indigenous, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I come from the land of bingo scams. In fact, it's just, I mean,
Don't get me started.
when I was leaving the province, the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan, like all the people who was involved in the election got arrested. Like it was like pretty normal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, look it up. It was bad.
Just 1 second. Hi, Leanne. Nice to. I'm so happy, and Joshua and Jolene. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Oh
I
yes,
forgot
good.
to
I'm usually all over
acknowledge
that.
you guys.
Like, I saw
Yes.
Josh is my husband. It's good. He sees me.
Yes, someone from my work. Yeah, someone from my work is watching. So thank you guys
Oh,
so much.
neat.
Thank you.
That's great. Well, that's
That's
great.
awesome.
And she's very funny.
Yes, bingo
Northern
scams,
so.
TVs. Well, can you explain to the audience what the hi? Can you explain what the audience the TV scam was?
Okay, yeah. So in trouble for my dad. Okay, so no, we'll just say my name is not Jenn Hayward. And so when I'll just tell you facts, and you
Okay.
can. So 1 year for Christmas, my dad got me a TV. And my husband was like, oh, because we were so poor, and it was when we first married him. Like, oh my God, like what a gent. This is not when the TVs were so expensive back then. Oh my God. And he was just over and over. And I just said, just watch. So of course, 3 days later, we went and played bingo, which my husband still will never, ever, ever do again. And as we're there, the prizes for the bingo were TVs, and that's all I'm going to infer. My family thinks I sit and talk about them all the time anyway, and I don't. But yes,
now the
but
bingo
there's
scams
just
are all on
some
Facebook.
slippery slope ethics that occur at times, and sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. Like there's actually some justification, and it may not even be a scam, right? But there's definitely some issues. So I mean, power control, but all those things weren't existing. But I had an interesting experience when I moved from Saskatchewan. So grew up in Saskatchewan. Didn't know a lot about my culture. Didn't raised in it. My dad was like hockey alcoholic guy, like do you know what I mean? Like that was pretty much talk about ground, like it was.
Were you
was
conceived at a junior B hockey game?
No, would I have? Maybe. I was definitely an accident. We'll just say that. Two people who should have never procreated got together and produced 3 children and a lifetime of joy. But no, it's whatever. They had us. But yeah, so there's always like in our culture, there's a need for those teachings. Like I mean, I've been open about it here. I struggled definitely with alcohol use, and I don't mean to. It goes through me exceptionally fast, but when I do, I think you know who Adrian Kronk is, like
Yeah.
ridiculously funny comment. At one of the first rows, he was like, "Are you just a walking stereotype, like gambling addict, drinking addict?" And I was like, "Kind of." And I realized, so you know, and you got to guess because we have so much to overcome. My diagnosis of borderline personality disorder, which I don't even fit anymore, it is, I think that the rate was like 2.1%, like, or times 2.1 times higher for Indigenous people, because it all comes from this trauma, right? And I mean, I also understand that the level of trauma I went through is nothing compared to what other people have gone through, right? Because they're, you know, and I think that's an important distinction. So I'm very pale as shit today, but I'm very light skinned. I'm Métis, mixed race. I have never gone in and saying, I am now going to speak on behalf of a reserve land holders, because I mean, am I good? Was I a good public servant? Actually, I wasn't, but I was good at working with the elders and doing those things. I'm really good at listening and learning, because that was the big teaching. So I came from all my Cree teachings, right? So Indigenous justice was my degree, worked with elders. We were foster parents. And so, you know, we just worked with a lot of elders and different things like that. And and I had my own elder, I guess, too, but we moved out here to work with correctional services and working with 134 elders across the country, like just the biggest treat I could ever be given in my life, an honor, really. Everything else sucked about the federal government, but that one didn't.
I bet.
That's where I realized, whoa, 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 whoa. West isn't best, meaning there are so many different teachings because there's so much ingrained misogyny in the prairies. And if you look at just the trends of who settled there, that I mean, some of these Indigenous teachings that we've learned, like you can't even step over a man's hat if you have your period. Like usually you have a tampon in, it's not going to fall out. But those were some of the teachings. And I come out here and I'm meeting the Iroquois women who are like, we are matriarchal, and what the fuck are you talking about? Right. And I started listening to so many new, and I said, so there is no way for one person to say, I represent all Indigenous people. And it's a matter of being a liaison and listening. And so those are the true people. Like, I don't know your experiences. You don't know mine. We share them and we learn. Would that be?
That goes on the same line of being told that I'm culturally appropriating my own culture, because I was, I know, you're like, what? I was raised Black. I was raised to only be Black. You're a Black woman. You're an N-word. You're you know, this is who you are. And when I was 18, I finally met my father as an adult, because I met him when I was very, very young, but too young to even process it. And then I met him when I was 18. And then by the age of 26, my ex-husband left me. I was living up in Yellowknife. I came back down to Ottawa. Then he left me. And then I went up to, because I was homeless again. I was living with a parent, but it wasn't working out. And I was homeless again. And Temiskaming, the Matachewan, the Temiskaming Kirkland Lake Women's Center took me in for 9 whole months. They taught me some very sacred teachings. I got to learn not the Mi'kmaq culture, but more as a broad spectrum in like their culture up there. And that's where I got my spirit name. First Rays of the Sun Woman was in Kirkland Lake. It's not my Mi'kmaq spirit name, but I still hold it dear because they took me in at my lowest point.
Appropriating for you because you weren't raised in it? That's ridiculous.
No, my parental thinks that I'm appropriating my native culture because I wasn't. They didn't raise me to be Indigenous. They raised me to be Black. However, look at me.
Yeah,
I looked in the mirror and I only saw Pocahontas. Like, steal my land and call me Rebecca. I only saw Pocahontas.
Yeah, you and your sister definitely are Indigenous.
We were two little Indians running around, you know, in the trees, barefooted, literally.
Well, my dad read to go the opposite way. If we can hide in white culture, why wouldn't you do that? Right? Like, why would you subject yourself to all that extra oppression when you don't need to? So I think that's interesting. Yeah. So you went up north and
I accepted the fact, because again, I had it in my head I was only Black, but I knew I was Indigenous. And then when I went to Kirkland Lake, I felt I embraced it 100%. I'm like, this is who I am. This is because I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know who I was. Homeless again. I had no job. I was broke. I like homeless again for the third, fourth time in my life. I was back on welfare. I'm like, what is happening? I'm 26 years old. And then they took me in, gave me my teachings, got my security license up in Kirkland Lake, and I've been a security guard for 7 years consistently. Being that license has literally skyrocketed me out of debt, out of poverty. And like, I just
I'm getting
accept it.
goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps. No, because
Thank
you are actually, I didn't know, I mean, I knew this on peripheral, but everything you're describing, and we're gonna later, we'll definitely do it like a public shout out on like on to them. That's a huge thing. I mean, coming from where I worked with the corrections, right? I mean, everything you're describing is exactly how it's supposed to be in programming, right? It's pro-social activities, it's connecting with nature and your culture, it's job, it's hanging out with non-delinquents and pro-social people, all those things to get ahead. And so what they've done is where funding should be freaking invested, because jail shouldn't be the first time someone's introduced their Indigenous culture. And that would happen.
Yeah, and jail shouldn't be the first time anybody's introduced to structure or reason. Like, oh my God, I couldn't believe I was like brought up to believe I was always going to go to prison or jail because a white man's going to put me down, and no matter what I'm going to be made an example of. Don't ever do anything wrong because you're going to get put in jail and prison. I was literally taught that I was always going to end up there, and that the majority was.
Syllaboy, your sister
Oh,
says.
yes, that's my cousin.
Oh, nice. That's the one too.
That's my cousin who I shared this page. She runs Indian Brook Hot Topics. Indian Brook is the area in Sipkanagady, where I'm from. And Shibanakady, Sipkanagady. They just made it harder to say. Yes, that's actually the reserve where we're fighting for our inherent rights. Yes, so we can fish for our moderate livelihood. And I was going to say on another note that we just passed about 10 minutes ago was being the arbiter or like the moral arbiter of our culture of just being Indigenous across the board. I don't want to be a moral arbiter for Indigenous rights. Like, I don't want to be this one spokesperson, you know, but I will be the spokesperson if I have to fight for our inherent rights, because that's all of our rights. All of our rights.
Absolutely. Well, no, I think we should all be fighting for all these things.
Yes.
But to say that it's more like to say, oh, I know what that experience like. I'm not.
100%. I get you. I'm just saying that because I did do a protest, and I don't want people to think that. I don't want people to think that I'm like what you said, where you're speaking for everyone in Canada, all Indigenous people. No, I'm speaking for my people because it's something that's we're facing right now.
Simone says you're an inspiration.
Oh, thank you, Simone.
I'm going to tell you a little story. I was out. I went to Wendake First Nation for work, and we're there as a group. So we're all Indigenous who go there, right? From all over Canada. All over Canada. So there's another guy from urban Saskatchewan, another Métis guy, and more visibly so, whatever. And so we're there, and he's a vegetarian, which is
can't hunt.
Unique. So but we're both like, so our pillows are dead animals, eh? And so it was all like taxidermied animals. And so, when you're not used to that, because you didn't grow up, I'm like, animals are important and sacred when they're alive. But and so he asked me to remove all the pillows from his room. And so I got extra dead animals in my room. But it was just funny because I was like, we're the worst Indigenous people ever. And I hate telling the story, but I'm going to tell it anyway because I got in so much trouble. It was my first big trip with correctional services. My job was to help it and scribe for the elders. So I was told, whatever the elders do, tell you, you do. That's what we're taught, to respect our elders. So the elders wanted to go to the casino. And so I took them to the casino.
Got to do it.
God. And so much, not only that, got in so much trouble, but getting them out was impossible. And it was like just trying to get 18 kids out. We had this big truck, and they all said, "We're good. We'll find our way home." So
Yeah,
I had like the
I
big
got this.
van.
I don't know what you're
This
talking
room
about. I
for
got this.
15 people, and 3 came back with me. I still don't know how everyone else got back. I could have got fired over that, but I mean, I was a gambling
Whew.
addict at the time. It was about
Yeah.
2009, 2008. But oh
You
my
can
God.
gamble 24 hours. Like you can
Yeah,
be
it
in
was
there all day and all night.
yeah, and it was like an hour and a half drive because I thought it was a lot faster, but I didn't have smartphones and stuff like that back,
Oh
and so
God, that makes
I'm just
me like
driving
sweat.
in the dark, taking elders to their death. Like I'm like, I am so fired. But it was someone screwed up too. And they got a traditional dancer, but I don't know how everything was lost in translation. But it was a belly dancer. So we had this elder gathering with this belly dancer. So the men enjoyed it, but it was
The women are all like,
yeah.
I'm gonna place tobacco for you, young lady.
So back to comedy, we were
Oh.
having a nice conversation, and so
Mhm.
comedians themselves are unique individuals. Like I thought when I met comics, I met the craziest people, including myself at the time. And I've now realized that no, they're just this symbolism. You don't actually have to be crazy to do comedy. That was sort of the thing. Now, there's a lot of us who it was a form of therapy for sure. It was obviously, and being away was an escape, and all those sorts of things. And it was almost like all the kids who had no cool kids in school were trying to find another way to relive high school. Almost to me, like back
Mhm.
then. But now it's this like beacon of general supportive people. Like there's still some assholes, and for some people we're the assholes, but it's, in general, like people are, I'm sorry, people at Yuck Yucks are generally very supportive of each other. I'm not going to say anything in between those lines, but do you know what I mean? Like it seems
Yeah.
to be like, I don't hear people saying, "Oh, Janelle got that." Like, I don't see anyone saying that. I say, "Good for you, Janelle." That's
One of my ex-boyfriends did.
oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
who? Oh, I know.
He said that the only reason, because he was really jealous because I was getting spots and he wasn't, but it was
Mm.
his own fault. Like I I have a really deep place in my heart for him. However, I will talk shit. He uh he was saying you're only getting spots because you're a woman and you're indigenous and da da da. But he's
Yeah.
part indigenous too. So I'm like, what are you talking about? He was just he was bitter that because he would do good some days, like
Another.
he was a good comedian. I laugh at
My
his jokes.
husband just sort of defined what it is here. Comedians are
Oh,
dickheads.
dickheads. Yes.
Yeah.
He would be mad that he would say this a lot. I don't know why they don't just put me on. And I'm like, but babe, you have to ask. He's like, I shouldn't have to ask. They should just know I'm funny. And I'm like, oh, that's your
Oh,
problem.
someone said this.
That's your problem right there. That's your problem. You're not asking. You're not playing the game. Like
Yeah, but we're also
hand
playing
shield.
into space that hasn't been given to us
Yeah,
traditionally, right?
exactly.
John Zanklin was the very first black comic on the scene. There
Yes,
was
and
there's
someone
black
had
comics
nerve to
for
call her
100.
a stage vulture. Someone had
Pardon?
nerve to call Dawn Zanklin a stage vulture. And that woman, I will never have any place in my heart for her for point like talking about Dawn that way or like
She's the sweetest
giving
person in the world. Like, oh
yeah,
my God.
and not giving new comedians a platform or a voice. Like this person would shoot them down in OCC in a second without giving them like it would come like it
Yeah.
was like she was trying to give them a voice, but it was so condescending and such a Karen kind of like that woman talk about like it was so
Mhm.
mean and I'm like okay no I have to distance myself from elitist comedians because if
Oh,
they're
yeah.
elitist that it has to be this way and no I'm like honey I'm gonna change the game you want to be I want to be the change you want to see I'm gonna make
And
sure
people do. If I
yeah
mean, gently, people don't want to hear about men's penises anymore.
exactly
It, it's, I mean, unless it's really like, of course, the pros can do good. But I mean, that's
yeah
we all know, but it is. Rebecca Reed's a comic before you. She's been at Winnipeg Comedy Festival. Very, very funny girl.
mm-hmm.
Woman, I get woman. But I remember her saying, "So what if they're putting me on because I'm a girl? I'm going to take every freaking
That's it.
stage time I can get, and I'm going to get as good as I can, because women have to step up and claim their space. And I loved it. She was like, I'm just doing this, right? I have no apologies whatsoever. I don't care if they chose me because I'm a woman, I'm still funny. And you have to still be funny, right? And so even as a woman now, there's so many. I remember there was even, because I stopped comedy in general, and I was like, wait, they can have women shows without me. I remember the first one, I was like, wait a minute. There's enough people that they just don't have to throw the token Jenn Hayward host on. And it's
You're a
fun.
great host, by the way. I love your energy.
Thanks.
I want to be
Well,
like
I'm a
that. I
better
want to be
host
like,
than I am a comedian.
yeah.
And I'll tell you my theory. I think most women make better hosts than they do. Not than they do comics, or I shouldn't say that. But sometimes women, and this is why I think that we're socially programmed to not make everything about us. And even though we're claiming and everything like that, is that we're mums and we're all these things, or we're whatever. And it's our job to make sure everyone's having a good time. It's our job to make sure that everyone's intro. It's our job to make sure that everything is set up for success for that headliner. And that is the job. So sometimes headliners will come in and host, and it's cringeworthy because they've made it all about them. No, of course, when you're headlining, it's all about you. But when you're hosting, it's not. And so sometimes it's, it's all the things that you need to do. And so I sometimes think that women are a little more programmed. And so when you're hosting, your jokes can be good and you have to have a lot of them, but there's a charm factor as well. Like, you can't be an asshole and be a good host. I don't know. Do you think?
Yes, 100%. Do you know what else women are good at? Rock truck driving.
Okay.
Yes,
Do the link here.
Yes. So I went to a couple mines, like up in Yellowknife. I went to some mines up there in Kirkland Lake. I went to some mines there, and I'm curious. I like to ask a lot of like weird, nonsensical questions, and I learned that women are better. So a rock truck is those big trucks that like haul rocks out of a quarry or out of a mining like shaft, anything like that. That's a rock truck, and they're gigantic. They're over like 50 feet tall. They're like huge wheels. And women are better rock truck drivers because they're meticulous, they're clean, and they check equipment accordingly. They rather hire, if you get your AZ, your DZ, and you need to go away to like for shift work, work 7 days in, like 7 days out, you will make a mint as a female rock truck driver. There's tons of work there, and they want to hire females because we take a lot more responsibility over rock truck, like we do with hosting, because we know housekeeping. Housekeeping was made for us.
So funny, because I'm the worst housekeeper ever. I was like, can we adopt older kids, because I don't want to do dishes anymore. But now, please don't send your hate mail that, oh, we're bashing men. I'm not. There's some amazing, like, we know Trevor Thompson's a great host, right? And it's not really, he's not one to make it not about him, but he's a good host. He's a good charmer of the, and
he's hosting our, Indigenous show. Indigenous show. I'm trying to remember the actual name of it. The Indigenous Celebration Week with Indigenous Service Canada. There we go.
You as the producer need to remember. I don't. I'm just doing my pre-tape thing and doing it. But no, I mean, and we talked about this on Monday. There's 4 women, and we ended up on the topic of perimenopause. Yes. And which I never would have thought I would be talking to you, being so young, and to one of the others who was also pretty young. And she's like, I guess and we're just talking about how with females and with women, there is so much that we weren't told. For the reason that if we were told how fucking gross this gets, that we would have said, rip this uterus out at age 10. Like, when they start teaching, you'd be like, I'm not doing that, right? I'm not having things the size of a liver fall out of me. Like, I'm not going through that. But the 4 people were saying, they were laughing their asses off at that. And I said, see, now, is that a mainstream show? Yes or no? I don't know.
Oh, it's actually, because I want to do because I need sex therapy because I have like a weird thing with sex. My twin sister also has a weird thing with sex. We had to watch Dexter with it muted.
It's nice when you say, I have a thing with my twin sister and sex. Carry on. Okay.
Ooh, all right. Let's soundbite that. That's going to be some guy's ringtone.
All right. Oh, I'm trouble.
Okay. So I was going to say, so like having an S&M show or having like a menopause show, like call it the hot flash, stuff like that. But I was going to say I got perimenopause at 23, so it's been about 10 years. I just had an ultrasound to see how bad those sack
Yeah,
of bowling balls are. What I was going to say was, yeah, if I was taught at a young age that my masculine tendencies was because I was overproducing more testosterone that was getting me into PCOS,
yeah,
I might not be barren today, but I am. It
yeah.
could have been checked out. It could have been looked at. I could have
But
been on
they don't.
medication. I could have had children if I wanted them, it
Mine, it
just,
was the weight. They kept saying,
hmm,
you're fat. Lose
yeah,
some weight. And you know what happened when I lost weight? They're like, holy shit, I can't believe you bleed this much, because nobody listened when I was fat.
yeah.
They didn't. It was like, but when I went to the hospital that day, I was like, I'm feeling a little tired, a little fainty. And they looked at me and they're like, get in here. And and once they did the test, they were like, you're walking around with half the blood you're supposed to. And then they're like trying to find the cause. And when I was like, maybe it's real, because I just assumed clots were related to your blood. I don't know why. I just assumed. And they're like, you're an idiot. But I said, don't listen to me before, right? And then now I have Crohn's, and that's a whole other thing. And that's just bad. I decided, because I started writing for CBC Radio, and I was like, I am going to write clean now. And then I was like diagnosed with Crohn's a week later. I was like, I guess I'm not, but I'm done with, because I'm not in it for comedy anymore. I like, what you're doing. I want to perform where I can. I want to write,
Mhm.
but I don't want to be out past 7 o'clock. And I don't know when that's going to happen. Like, so of course I'll go to Yuck Yucks, but I'll do the things that I do, but I don't think there's any, unless I have a big show coming up or something like that. I just can't see me doing a lot of open mics and stuff, because I'm tired. An entrepreneur is, and this now, is hustle, 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 right?
Yep.
It's behind so the way you're doing it is really smart. So
Thank
the
you.
idea to get the shows booked and they're responsible for the audience is really good. So you're going to do both, but that's great, because you've got your good money, you've got all those things, and you've got the thing behind you. And that's what you need, is those referrals, those the people that say, yeah, Janelle will do that, right? And that's how I got a gig. Someone, doing it with Don Kelly. He's like, I don't have time to do this every week. Have you heard of Jenn Hayward? I met with the guy, and boom, now I'm doing this, right? Because that is how Indigenous people work, is that we help each other. We
Yep.
see the hustlers, the people who want to get ahead. I'll be doing some work with David Charette as well. Do you know David?
I have heard of his name. I have not been connected with him.
Yeah, he goes by his Indian name now. But anyway, and he's a great beater. He opened for Parliament. I think I told you that story where he opened for Parliament, and they phoned and asked if when I worked at Odawa, and they're like, "Do you have anyone who could drum for the opening of Parliament when Trudeau came in?" And I was like, "Well, how much are you going to pay?" And they said,
Oh
"We don't have a
yeah.
budget." And I was like, "Nah, we're good." And then the executive director reminded me I wasn't in charge, and I said, "Well, it's they." He's like, it's good, it's da, da, da. And so I got back on the phone with the PMO's office, and I said, well, why can't you pay them? You're the government. And then it turns out it's just they didn't know how. They
Yeah.
don't know how to do culture. And I have 10 years in experience in convincing people, yes, you have to buy this tobacco for this, or you have to buy the flag for this. So I showed them what to do, and boom, he got paid. And he got to perform a couple times, but it's sometimes, and so there's those people, and that's the thing, is you pay it forward to everyone. I'm not gonna.
I need to suck all that knowledge out of you before you leave this world. I think I got 25, 34 years left out of you.
I would
I
go with
just
you,
I just
just
want
in
it all.
case. Well, you never know. Like I said, I'm living. I think I've. We're getting low on time, but I think I'm in a place where I'm starting to really grieve some shit, right? Like where
Mhm.
I'm actually letting loose. I'm starting to feel peace. I really like being with myself, where before I couldn't be by myself. That's why I'd be at comedy all the time around people.
Oh,
Is like,
my
and
twin sister's
now I'm
like
like,
that.
I like to hang out with me because I'm awesome. Like I would rather play my number game than go like, and just like have a nice bath and go, because I also talk to people all day.
Mhm.
And it's different. I used to, when I was 20, That's why I started comedy when I was 19, and I'd be the girl who talks like this. And that was me when I was younger. You couldn't even imagine now. And now I sit at, and so like, I don't think, I just, again, I'm on like fight or flight with all the stuff that was going on with my kids and my business. I just learned how to be a businesswoman, and but I did have the same thing. People mentored me and taught me the things I need, through my networking and through, and now I'm more well known in the business community than the comedy, for sure. And it's a good reputation this time. But I'm like you, I'm just me, good or bad, take it. This is what's going on. I'm like that in my business, although I've had to learn, I guess I can't say that at work, things like that. Yeah. Anything that might get me in a court of law because of, you have to, you rein it in, and but it's just growing up, I guess.
Like, no matter how many times I change my accent on stage, because that's what I do. I'm very I have lots of expressions. I have lots of accents. I'm as authentic as I possibly can be, even though in some jokes, like there's like a lie for a punchline or a tag, stuff like that. I just want to be an authentic person. I want to be transparent. I want to be open, because if you're not, then nobody trusts you, because that's just how it is. Like, I want to be as trustworthy as possible. I want people to see, like, I even have a business plan structure that I'm going to be writing, and looking at all these notes, this business plan is going to be like 10 pages long, but at least I'll have something like written down that I can like short form proposal, so I can get those grants, so we can get those planes, so we can get those hotel rooms.
And Canada Buy and Sell as a supplier for entertainment and consulting, because you can be a conduit to many other things too. Like I said, I didn't ask for a thing when I was like, well, I know Trina, I'll just introduce you, right? Boom, boom, boom. And that's it. And that's people using the power that they have to help who they have. And it's not power that I know people. I'm just nice, right? I know people, but it is. Howard said that once to me. He's like, how did you find that? And he asked for someone's number. I was like, I don't know. I just went and looked on the internet. I said, like, I just know people who know people. Right. So, and I'm not afraid to say I need help. And I think that's one of the key things that people don't know how to do. People will say you're needy or all that. But you know what? Because I was doing a very big cry for help back in the day, and it wasn't good. But I got the help that I wanted. And then I became the woman. So I was able to get my son the help that he needs. And I have no regrets. Like, even though I've hurt a couple of people along the way, I have no regrets, but I do want to pay it forward to people like you. I don't take this as a, like, hey, everyone call Jenn Hayward for advice, because I'm not that person. Like, I think I said
She's mine.
I'm like, if like my maid of honor is going through chemo right now. And like, I think I said, like, what kind of friend will I be? Like, am I the kind who's going to bring food? No, I'm the kind who gets high and cracks wise. Like, I'm the one who's going to walk her through that. She's got all her same people. But that is, and my husband and I have taken that through death, through miscarriage, through everything we've gone through in 23 years. There has not been one day that we haven't laughed. And that's the truth. There's been days where we're not happy with each other, but we've still laughed, because laughter is what's at the core of our marriage, is that we can see humor in almost anything, and it's coped, it's not avoiding humor, and we've got to hear. So I just think you have a huge future ahead of you, and like, as an entrepreneur, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's
I just accepted that lately. I'm like, I didn't, when you first said it, I'm like, entrepreneur, oh shit, yes, I got a business.
I recognize it, without a doubt. But the thing is that's it. I would do that, and people would shit on me for starting shows or doing this and saying, oh, she thinks she's that. And people will say what they want to say. And I mean, like I've always said, some of it's true and some of it's not. I don't really care what people think anymore, those people anyway. And it's time to move on. And so I'm really happy. And I'm so happy to hear, Howard is so supportive. So I know he's not watching this, but Howard, thank you.
And Dan Shields.
And I want to end on something not related to you or I at all. Okay. I know he's not watching, but just our huge love to Jesse Reynolds, who lost his mom today. And it was her birthday, and it's Mother's Day weekend. So if you know Jesse, just send him a nice message. And she was a wonderful lady. I really liked her. She used to go to all his shows, things like that, when he started. And that's where the comedy community can be a family, right? Yeah. people don't even, I mean, I love Jesse, he's a good friend. But there's, different people who, you care, you grow to care about them, even though, like I drop dead tomorrow. There's 4 people in comedy who are going to laugh and be happy. And the rest will be like, huh, Jenn Hayward. Do you know what I mean? And some will be really sad, but
I'm going to build a statue in your honor.
Pardon?
I'm going to build a statue in your honor.
Absolutely. I want it to be a big uterus that I don't have.
But before we do go, I do want to say one thing.
Absolutely.
When I hit it big in about 5 years, that's where I'm going. Sure. If you're watching this in 5 years and you're like searching YouTube for Janelle Niles and you want to be a stand-up comedian, you're an amateur, I will probably still be doing amateur shows in Ottawa. And right now, currently in 2021, we have Comedy at Eddie's. It's a bi-weekly Wednesday show. We're in lockdown right now, but we're not going to be in COVID forever. So if you have 6 minutes of your own original material, just find Janelle Niles on Ottawa Comedy Community, or just look me up on YouTube, Facebook, shoot me a message. We'll get you that stage time. I help
and you
coaching
don't even have
amateurs.
To be Indigenous to go to Eddie's.
Yeah, and you don't have to be an Indigenous. That's what comedy, like, I'll even if you are Indigenous, or a beer. Anybody. Yeah, we take anybody. And like, it depends. Even if you're like 15 years old, if you want to try comedy, just write 6 minutes of your own original material or less, and we'll just throw you on stage. It's that simple. Right, and that's where you start.
And that is who you are. And that is why I like supporting you, is because that's it. You're going to give other people voices. You're going to give people a chance. You know what? You're loud and you're boisterous. And sometimes I don't agree with what you say, or you don't agree with what I say. But that's what friendship and relationships are. Like, do you think my husband and I agree on everything? No. Do we deeply love each other? Sure. We loved each other so much the other night. My son is moving out. He is so mad. He is so angry. All I can say is he heard these words, and I won't say the context, but he heard the words, I'm a
finger
monkey,
blasting.
I'm a gorilla. And he's like, I'm moving out. Like, he yelled, I'm out of here. And that's the end of that. So, but the point is that you're a good person. So remember that, because it gets more lonely as you keep on your entrepreneur. So keep comedians close, but keep people like me in that close as well, because you need that support, because people will throw shit at you when you're doing well. I guarantee it doesn't matter what kind of business it is. If you run one pita pit, another pita pit might be like, it's just the nature of people. I've taken a different approach. You have a different approach, is that there's an abundance of things out there for people. Let's nurture and make the world a better place where we can. And don't put up with
comedy
shit.
Forever.
Yeah, and don't put up with shit, because there's a lot of shit out there. So Janelle Niles, Gotland. So if you're thinking, hey, I need something for my, for a corporate retreat, something like that, you can contact her. I'm kind of her agent. You can go through me, and I'll tell her how much you can afford. But don't worry, and you can request no jokes about finger blasting. You can put that in the contract. That's the thing about corporate comedy, is you are the one paying, so you're the one who sets the rules, and she will find the right comics for you. So I want to see you hit that 30 before this year. I think with Howard's help and things like that, you're going to make it. And I think you'll actually be one of the higher paid producers across the country, because you've branded so well. And I will continue to promote and encourage. In fact, when I'm in Kenya, I'm going to look at opportunities to get you over there and things like that.
Thank you.
So thank you to everyone. Thank you. I'm going to say bye to everyone else, but Janelle will stay for a second. And I would say come back on a regular basis, but I have no regular basis. Next week, I probably won't be doing anything, because I will be sleeping for Mother's Day, and my daughter's moving to Kenya on May 19th. So I'm going to have a lot of quality time with her. I'm very excited. But Janelle, I thank you so much for talking. I know I canceled on you the first time. I am very bad at that, and I will continue to be like that until my life. But I cannot wait to perform. Eddie's is one place I will go back on, because you do it at 7:00 like reasonable people. So thank you so much. I'm going to end the broadcast. Go check out. Well, can you say the name one more time of the place up north?
Where up north? Like
the place that helped you with your homelessness.
Oh, Temiskaming. Temiskaming.
Yeah. So if you want to do anything forward, look at them for potential, helping out with them, and also give Janelle her land back. There you go. All
Got
right.
it? You
Thanks
got
so
it?
much, everyone. And then I was going to say also floss, but I didn't. And then I did. So whatever. Have a go-terrific day. Thanks.